y'all talk about? Playoffs? You kidding me? Playoffs? I just hope we can win a game.
There we go. Welcome back, boys. What a way to come back. The NFL around the UK are back. It's playoffs. It's wild cards are done. We're into the divisional round. How have you been, boys? How the bloody hell have you been?
Yeah, man, good. You know, I feel like I'm very bipolar with my fan bases right now. Obviously, 49ers land is in the absolute toilet, and the Buffalo Bills are living the dream. So you know, we're doing good. DJ, how you doing, my boy?
Yeah, man, it's good to be back. Had a nice little decent break away. Went to the States and just a chill time. But yeah, good to be back with the boys.
Indeed, it's good to be talking football again. Apologies for the unscheduled and rather sort of longer winter break that we threw ourselves into. These things happen with us. I mean, you've got to be used to unprofessionalism on us. Where do you want to start, boys? There's so much to catch up on. Do we quickly run through the wildcard weekend, or are we just kind of like, hey, everyone knows what's happened, everyone's done? Or do we talk stories in terms of coaching? Because there's so much to talk about.
Yeah, I feel like we got some.
I feel like we got to touch on the coaching aspect, considering DJ's background, right? I'm kind of assuming he's pretty happy with things in New England right now.
Good place to start.
Yeah, it was very surprising from our aspect. I mean, literally after the Buffalo game, not even half an hour, I believe, it was breaking news where Kraft
it wasn't even Black Monday, was it? It was like
Black
way
Sunday.
ahead of the curve. Yeah.
Were you surprised that it happened that quickly? Because I feel like I don't like pay. I'm not gonna lie. Obviously, there's a lot of teams in the league, so I'm not like all over Patriots news. But it felt kind of surprising to me that they moved fast after that game happened. Like it was done.
It felt very different. Like I think we was watching the press conferences or after the game and the news announced. So I have a rough feeling that he kind of knew it was coming. But it was just the way that they did it. I mean, I don't know. It just felt all very weird. Like Matty just said, it was all very rushed. It was like, right, Mayo out, we're done. We're moving on.
It was weird because, when Mayo took over, and it was just like, promote from within, keep the Patriot way and all that sort of stuff. It almost, and now this has happened. You kind of got to feel that almost he was set up to fail because, Belichick left. Team was in complete rebuild. You didn't have much going for you this year, apart from your new QB, who obviously has come on leaps and bounds and whatever else. But you didn't have a lot. I mean, it was one of those seasons where everyone was just like, this is going to be a shocker. We're probably going to get a decent pick next time round as well. Jared Mayo, see what you can keep, right the ship and see where you go, and we'll see some progress. And to be honest, there were some signs of progress, and the team's he did a lot with not a lot going on there.
Yeah, it just seemed.
But do you think he was set up in almost
to fail? I don't think he was given enough time for one. I don't think he was given enough help, as in experience-wise. I think he had a very young, talentless coaching staff behind him, which probably didn't help. I think
talentless or experienceless.
Yeah, experienceless. Yeah, I'd say experience, which he probably found it hard to recruit. Who's going to want to come to New England somewhere? There's no Bill, there's no Brady. It's just, I don't know. I just felt it was very.
He was looking for projects, wasn't he? I mean, it was going to be a project if he wanted to, the whole. They tried to get VA from 49ers. Brandon Ayuk. So, a lot of stories about that. And it was almost like, come and be our number one. Come and let us build our team around you. And that was kind of how he was having to sell it. I also wonder if the Patriots and Kraft and all that, did they set it up to kind of have a stopgap so that when they went out and got the guy they actually really wanted to follow Bill, he wasn't following Bill. He's coming in, he's not following in Bill Belichick's footsteps now. He's taking over from Jared Mayo.
Yeah, I don't know if there was
that sort of.
A free pass. Kraft always said that Mayo was going to be the success plan after Belichick. He had it in his contract to say, right, when Bill's gone, you're in charge.
Yeah.
I don't think they ever anticipated to be that bad or this bad as we've had this year.
I think the problem was everybody else, pundits, us, everybody knew in the nicest possible way, you're going to be bad this year. You were going to, you got a high draft pick last year because you were bad, and not much changed. I think it was pretty much across the board that everyone kind of was on the understanding.
Well, when week 1 came around, we beat the Bengals. We was like, whoa.
Yeah, what's happened there? Everyone's thrown it out the window type thing, and so it's a weird one. It's quite it sounds weird, but it's unpatriots like.
It's like,
but maybe that's because we're so used to Bill Belichick being there for such a long time.
It does kind of feel rough though, right? Because like, I mean, there were even quotes from obviously like the owners and stuff saying that like that week 1 result against the Bengals did kind of change their view on the season. And like, obviously I get it. That's a major result. Like that's big and nobody was expecting it. But equally, like anything can kind of happen in week 1, right? When there's been so long away from football and teams haven't warmed up properly and stuff, like anything can happen in week 1. I don't think you can let a week 1 result just totally kind of skew your kind of whole thought of the season. Like we said, that week 1 result was massive, but I don't think many people had, like illusions about this Patriots team and thinking that this was going to be something special from nothing, right? Like this was going to be a rebuilding year. This was going to be a hurting year. Everybody knew that, but it just seems like another case of you never want to be the guy after the guy, right? Like you never want to be the guy. United, right. You never want to be the guy that replaces the guy. Like it's never. It almost seemingly never goes well.
I think the comments that were made in the press conference by Kraft as well. I mean, there was a couple bits where he was saying the high point of this season was when we actually beat the Bengals, and that is it. And the team has, instead of moving forward and getting better, it's actually got worse and it's regressed. I think he got to that point where it was a month just before the season was ending. He knew that Mayo was gone. And then obviously...
Do you think then Mayo did a Lovie Smith then and just basically went, right, fine.
Yeah,
screw you. I'm going to win this game.
But I think the Bills had a lot to do with it as well. I think they let their guards down. They thinking, you beat us here, you're not going to get the number 1 pick. So
we're already in. We've got nothing really to play for.
Exactly.
Maybe.
Put on our 3rd, 4th strings. You need to beat us. We'll lay down.
It was a weird. It just did strike me as the Lovie Smith Falcons from a few seasons ago when he knew he was getting sacked and he was like, right, then I'm going to absolutely stuff you by winning this last game, which took them down 6 or 7 spots. And I think it dropped you guys. Was it the Bucks?
Was that in the Bucks or was it?
Bucks. I thought the Falcons were involved in it, but maybe it was Bucks against Falcons or something. You might be right. It might have been the Bucks.
Yeah,
but in the draft, it dropped them down the drafting room, and it dropped the Patriots down to 4th.
From 1st to 4th.
From 1st to 4th. I mean, you think, well, that's not that far, but
ain't the end of the world, but still,
you could have sold your first.
Exactly, I would have. If I'd had number 1, I would have. Yeah, I would have definitely.
You'd have been trading it out, right? Because you've got your QB.
Correct.
Teams are out there who want QBs. You could have got a lot for that, and now you get. I mean, it is still super high. It's only the 4th, but again, it's only the 4th pick. It's a difficult, more tricky sell. Any other coaching things you want to talk about? Because there's that one.
Well,
obviously,
there was just been the couple noticeable ones that wouldn't let go on the Black Monday. So obviously the Jets were actively looking, and they looked like they were interviewing the whole entire world. Well, I still haven't got a call yet, but
the world and his wife
still waiting.
Pierce at Raiders went as well, didn't he?
Raiders, Pierce got sacks. The GM also
cleaning
got
house over there, aren't they?
Yeah, looks like now with Brady kind of having a say there. I don't know.
Exactly, it'll be interesting.
Correct,
what was also interesting that they can't get Belichick to go to the Raiders because he's obviously taken up a position at North Carolina.
Well, there's been a breaking news today about that.
Oh,
apparently Bill has not signed his North Carolina contract yet, so there is no 10 million buyout if teams wish to approach him.
Wow, really?
Yeah, this is what was been flying around and announced in the news about a couple of hours ago.
Because to be fair, I always thought the whole concept of him the whole concept of him having a buyout always felt a bit weird anyway, right? Like I was listening to like Mike Florio talking about it, and he was saying like, it'd be very easy for him to just negotiate a contract where there is no buyout at all. He's like, obviously at some point that has come up and they have said that this buyout, needs to be in place. And he was like, if you really were 100% totally committed to this thing and were not interested in anything that anyone would come at you with, you would just have not negotiated that into the deal, right? But it is there for a reason. So I feel like that's always been a bit of an interesting like caveat to this whole Bill Belichick thing.
10 million buyout.
That's
Bill Belichick.
That is pocket change for any NFL team owner. They don't need $10 million. That's nothing, man.
I mean, that is not. Yeah, sort of my thought was like 10 million, 50 million buyout. Then you're like, okay, maybe
it goes down to 1 million on June 1st, which is obviously a hot minute, but it goes down even further. Sorry,
after spring training and stuff.
It was just saying CBS reports breaking news. Legendary Bill Belichick has not yet to sign his contract with the UNC. This is likely meaning that if Belichick was to leave for an NFL team today, his $10 million buyout would not have been paid. Belichick now has the ability to discuss with any other NFL team, with the Cowboys lurking around. That's what.
Oh, Alec, where are you, Alec?
Is Cowboys. Yeah. To be fair,
helicoptering in.
Cowboys are probably definitely worth mentioning because
we have to talk about that. I mean,
in typical Cowboys fashion, they've done this really stupidly. They did this just long enough that the Bears couldn't interview him in person. But now they've left it too long that they kind of have not got the jump on any of the really hot hiring prospects, right? Like they can't interview with Ben Johnson, anyone who's still in the playoffs, right? Yeah. So there's a lot of candidates that other teams will have had time with. I mean, it's just going to be Zoom calls and stuff, but still, that's better than absolutely nothing. Like I feel like the Cowboys are just doing what the Cowboys do. They're drumming up. They're just finding another way for people to talk about them in the offseason when realistically they are beyond irrelevant right now.
Yeah,
like it's Jerry's doing Jerry things. That's exactly what's happening right now.
And obviously the story now is prime time's going back to Dallas. That's what's that's the that's really running right now. That's coming. So is that something that's going to happen? Is that I think it's too big a step. I mean, he's gone from
too much of a risk.
He's gone from a smaller college. He's gone to Colorado. Yes, he's improved Colorado, and I get his son's getting drafted and whatnot. The Cowboys are not drafting Shedeur Sanders, so why would Dion go there? I think it's a package deal. Wherever Shedeur goes, potentially that's where Dion goes. I don't think he's going to the Cowboys unless Jerry somehow pulls off a magical trade. But we know that he's not likely to do that because he doesn't. And so the Bears have obviously kind of finally.
So the other noticeable teams is obviously the Bears, which I think odds-on favourite McCarthy might be getting that role. The Cowboys head coach.
I
was listening to
it was weird because it was
earlier. It sounds like McCarthy is
the interview.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden he got released. So I don't know why the Cowboys would.
It's just Cowboys being because they left it a week because they said they were negotiating with him, and then it was like, oh no, it's not worked out. He's not coming back. Yeah, there was no negotiations took place. What were you doing for a week then? What?
Yeah, did you just put an offer out and he went, no, I want longer, and they went, okay.
I think that kind of sounds like it, right? It sounds like that Jerry Jones is like, you know what? We'll take you back for a year, and I think Mike McCarthy was like, no, that's okay. But it sounds like Mike McCarthy is. It sounds like Chicago is a very realistic landing spot for him, as well as there was another team. Apparently the New Orleans Saints as well. Apparently those are the two organizations that he could very well coach in. I mean, we'll see. I guess you could say that I know Mike McCarthy has had success with a young quarterback before, obviously in Green Bay with Aaron Rodgers. So maybe Chicago could be a good landing spot for him. Like, I feel like the building blocks of the team are there, right?
I think we all thought that.
Say what you want about him, but Mike McCarthy can coach a football team. Like, he's had some good winning seasons with the Cowboys to the point where I think there was even one season when I was mildly on board with them. I thought, that's not a bad football team. And then Cowboys, and here we are. But, you know,
went to the playoffs and shot themselves and completely.
It will be better than what the Bears have been.
That is true. And you look at the problem. I don't see him going to the Saints because the Saints are a car crash waiting to happen in terms of cap space.
That cap issue is going to be a nightmare.
They keep kicking it down, but eventually it's going to come back. And they've got nothing really at the Saints. They've got Olave. I don't know if Derek Carr's still going to be there, if they've traded him out yet. They've got Spencer Rattler. I mean, Kamara's there, but he's 32 now. He's on the wane. There's not a lot going for the Saints. The Bears, they do have the building blocks. I thought they'd be much better this year with Williams, with the receiver Roma Dunze. I thought they had a decent. DeAndre Swift is not panned out for him, but I think the building blocks at Chicago would be enough to make any coach go, I could do something with that. And I think the Bears. I'd be interested if he would not look to the AFC, because the Jets might be a tempting offer, being New York, for him. I just don't know if he, would he want to go across there and with the drama and everything else that comes with being a Jets head coach and the current mess that's QB, Aaron Rodgers, yes, no, maybe, who knows.
I was kind of having this thought though. I mean, I guess you two being fans of the NFL for longer than me might be able to shed a bit more light on this, but just personally, obviously there's a lot about the Chicago Bears that makes them seem like a really appealing landing spot, right? Like young, very talented QB, like they have a lot of building blocks for the team. It's a massive market. Like the people in Chicago are crazy about their football. Like it's obviously been like a bad while for them, but that is a fan base and a half, right? In Chicago, like they love their football team. But if you're in the mind of a head coach, does looking at the Bears division, do you not look at that NFC North and think, God, that is rough, right? Like you've got the Lions who are like flying high. We've obviously got the Vikings that crashed out in pretty dramatic fashion, which I'm sure we'll talk about in a bit. But during the regular season, they were pretty incredible at points. Obviously, the Packers, again, they were, to be fair, they were unlucky against the Eagles. Most of their team just got injured. But, that's a tough division to go into. Like, does that play any part in a head coach's thinking? Whereas maybe if you look at, I don't know, like the Jaguars and maybe think, well, that's a division that is definitely up for grabs. Like I could go in there and be the guy. Whereas if you go into Chicago, you've maybe got, okay, this is probably maybe a good season, maybe 2, maybe 3 before we look at actually taking this division from these other much further down the road teams, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's a division that had 3 playoffs teams in it this year. I mean, that's not usual. You don't usually get 3 teams out of one division going into the playoffs. Granted, they've not exactly set the world on fire. And that's the nicest way of putting that. But yeah, but then from a head coach perspective, would you look at that as the challenge, or would you look at that as, cool, that's tough? And also with the Green Bay link that McCarthy has.
That's true. That's true.
I think it's also given the history. I mean, Green Bay have always kind of been there when Rodgers was there, but then they kind of like had to start a rebuild without Rodgers, without the head coach situation. Lions have now all of a sudden just turned it around, but they used to be way not even compared to where they were.
Fletch.
And Fletch. Yeah.
I think Fletch is doing okay right now. Right, let's not worry about Fletch too much.
I think he's not going to argue with it. They've been in the Dolphins for a few years.
All right.
Yeah.
And then you've also got the Vikings, which they're a bit, you don't know what to take of them.
I think this is an anomaly this year.
So I think it's more of a challenge. You've got the team around you. You just need to build around, put in a couple pieces into the puzzle. You've got enough cap room there to help you out. It's like you say, it's a challenge at the end of the day. So yeah.
But I think you're right there, Matty. I think the Jaguars is a tempting offer for somebody with T-Law there and a good young wide receiver. So there's plenty of options for head coaching positions, but it's like is it the inevitable? The guys who are doing quite well on offense, the offensive coordinator, and obviously Ben Johnson from the Lions is like number one priority for everybody.
It certainly seems that way. Yeah, I thought it was quite a gutsy decision from him though, to be like, do you know what? I actually think I need another season just doing what I'm comfortable with, because I feel like you see so many, like promising coordinators just go off and do these jobs, and I'm sure they're more capable than doing them. I know not every situation in the NFL is perfect. Let's be nice. There are some teams that are less ideally run than others. That was literally exactly what I had in mind. But I feel like it was pretty gutsy for this guy to be like, do you know what? No, I'm staying here. I'm gonna spend an extra year proving that I'm worth it. And like he did. Like I thought the Lions weren't going to be as good this year, and if anything, they've been incredible this year. And it's hard to see why any team wouldn't want Ben Johnson in their building. And I think now he's in that privileged position where like he can be very picky because he has proven that he can do a hell of a job. I mean, Detroit could be in trouble next year. I know I said this last year. Don't bait me for this, but like their defensive coordinator and offensive coordinator are both getting like head coaching interviews. Like if they lose both of those, I mean, as we've seen as Niners fans, and I'm sure the Patriots have had coaching staff stolen, when you guys were really successful, it can be hard if you have to replace both coordinators on both sides of the ball. Like it could be rough if they both go. Might not be. It might just be Dan Campbell and fourth down vibes.
That's what I was going to say. It all boils down to who you have as head coach and who can manage that situation. I think Dan Campbell is. I mean, he's got the mentality. He's got the locker room with him. So I think whoever he kind of brings in, there's going to be a attraction to that to an OC or DC.
Anyone's going to want to go there as well for that same position. Everyone's going to want Ben Johnson. But
I think also
follow him. Yeah.
Ben Johnson and Aaron Glenn, I think they both can be very picky, like Matt just said. And if the right option isn't there for them, don't go.
You don't need to go.
Stay where you are.
Yeah, and I can't imagine that Dan Campbell in the kind of thorough situation and the front office haven't been contingency planning.
Oh, they probably already know it's coming,
right? Because he stayed. As you say, Ben Johnson took that gutsy call, saying, "I want to run it back with Detroit. I think we've got something. I want to get one more year." So you think by then they're like, "Okay, who's coming in after you? Because we're going to lose you. You deserve a head coaching job." I think there must be contingency plans in place, but it will be rough. It's always a change, as you say. The Niners have seen that in the last few years when they've lost defensive coordinator after defensive coordinator after defensive coordinator. Eventually it takes its toll, and there's a bit of a mix-up, and the defense just kind of starts to fall away. If they've got the contingency in place in Detroit, I mean, they've got the players, that's for sure, to keep going and run that sort of north for a while. So that would be an interesting place. But it was this. I think the worst case scenario, or the worst position now for head coach is someone's going to take it, obviously. But New Orleans Saints to me is a head coaching position of
tough one.
That's a tough one to get anything out of that with the situation, the back office, and all that. That cap. Everyone knows that they're running at minus something stupid next year in their cap space.
Yeah, I'm not jealous of their accountant or whoever has to try and make sense of that and think, okay, how can we actually continue to function as an organization, but also get a bit more back to net zero? Because that is rough.
The only way I can see that happening for the Saints is like draft well, then off
release
many contracts and trade you can get.
Well, they've done Lattimore. He left, didn't he?
Yeah, he got basically sent into the cart.
So they're starting to.
Yeah. So they're starting to do that.
At the end of the day, cap is just a number. It's manageable.
There'll always be a way around it. Yeah, exactly.
There's the money in the guaranteed, and
that's why I always hate when like teams are like, "Oh, we don't have the money." I'm like, "Yeah, you do. Come on." Like, I don't want to know how smart the people working on your bank accounts are. That you have the money, okay? Like there is a way. I don't want to hear it.
I mean, the Niners proved it this year when it was like, "Oh, no, you've got no cap space and whatever else," and then they just went, "Tell you what, Fred Warner here, instead of having 3 years and whatever, here's $60 million in guaranteed signing bonus." Yeah. It's like, oh, okay, that's fine. The cap
here's longer, more money, and now we have more cap room. Yeah, good.
Yeah.
Okay.
We're going to pay you more for longer, and we have now more cap room now that it's like,
just restructure the contracts.
So it's easily done, but the Saints have been doing it for a long time. But what they've not done is actually refresh their roster with it either. Though the roster is old and it's not great, so they've got no cap space and no talent, which is confusing me, because how can they have no cap space when they've not really got anything on their roster either.
It's quite impressive, to be fair, actually, to have sold yourself kind of that far down the river and not have too much to show for it. Like we said,
what's their big piece? It's Olave, right? That's their elite player. It's like, surely it should.
Yeah, I feel like I remember Rashid Shaheed doing bits for me in fantasy, but he's, we're not talking superstar club member here. Like,
you're not talking elite wide receiver there, are you?
Yeah.
Is there any more to? Yes. Oh no, Peterson. We talked about the Jaguars, and Peterson finally got the heap.
Yeah, it's just
well.
he got.
Peterson, I can't believe it took them that long.
I'm surprised he actually managed to still have a job when he flew out of London. To be honest.
Yeah, unless they just kind of thought, you know what, this season is obviously cooked. Like, let's just. It is what it is.
See it out, and we'll do it at the end.
Yeah, probably. I say probably had to happen. I always feel bad calling for someone's job, but I don't really think there's any way you could have brought him back, and there wouldn't have been at least 99% of the fan base being like, "Excuse me."
Yeah. Are we the Panthers? Hang on, have we turned into the Panthers here? What's going on? I mean, have the Panthers changed their head coach? We must have done. It's the Panthers.
No, they're still stuck.
No, Panthers have not.
They've still got the same.
Also, probably an interesting one to bring up, actually.
I think they sacked him mid-year, didn't they?
The Giants haven't made any changes, which I think is interesting.
They've decided to keep
GM and the head coach, wasn't it?
GM and head coach. DC could be on his way out, which he could be signing to the Patriots, but we're not. Is it Shane Bowden? I think his name is.
That's interesting, because I thought the defense was the only thing that kept the Giants in games this season.
That's rumours, but they do want to try
saying something because they weren't in the. I was surprised that Dable kept his job. I thought he was a guarantee. I mean, maybe he's got enough brownie points from a couple of seasons ago when he had a great run, and whatever.
I mean, very possibly, but that one felt
that was a
surprising.
Stinker of the year in New York.
I just felt like at least one of them, like at least either coach or GM, I didn't expect both of them to go because that feels like a total clear out. But it was just surprising that both of them stayed put, at least personally, because this season wasn't great. My prediction of saying that Daniel Jones was going to prove he's the guy this year, that is looking about as rough as the Chargers.
Well, I mean, he made the playoffs. Daniel Jones did make the playoffs.
Yeah, I don't.
For Minnesota, but
I don't think that was much down to him. But yes, I suppose you are correct, Gary. That's a good point you raise. That makes me look very smart, actually. Yeah,
there you go. So you called it. You called it. But Daniel Jones, the Daniel Jones rebirth arc is still on the cards.
Yeah, that's it. I'm telling you. I'm telling you, he's making his comeback. 3 years, he's going to be starting for a franchise. I'm telling you.
We'll stick it out. We've got it pinned. Right, let's go into the wild cards. Quick run through. Any shockers? Nothing to me stood out. There's no great surprise. The Vikings,
Commanders,
Rams, maybe.
Commanders.
I thought
the Commanders. It felt like a very Commanders-y game though. Like it came down to the final minutes and they were just ballsy and made it work.
A doink off the field goal. I mean, just to rub it into Bears fans, play up.
I mean, Baker shouldn't have fumbled where he fumbled on the 20, on his 20. I mean,
that was not great. Baker didn't do himself any favors, but when it got down to it, I thought the Commanders had the chance over the Bucs because the Bucs, although they won their division, we know how tough that NFC South is.
Yeah.
And the Commanders got through on a tough NFC East, so they've been battle hard and they've gone through some crazy endings and stuff like that. So I didn't see that so much as a shock. That was always to me the coin toss kind of game of it could go either way, and I wouldn't be surprised either way whoever came out of that one. Texans, Chargers. Surprised it was so wide open. Sorry,
yeah, no, but I feel like that was a strange game. Like at least for the first quarter.
Yeah, that was a battle of defenses, wasn't it?
Chargers kind of had the beat down on them, and then Texans just kind of opened it. I mean that defense from the Texans in the end, that was suffocating. Like that was pretty incredible. Not that the Chargers have, I mean, no pun intended, been the most like electrifying team this season. But thank you. I've been working on really hard on that. Like, obviously it was a very typical Harbaugh offense, right? Like, it wasn't the most rock and roll football, but that Texans defense looks like something. I mean, they're going to need to be something given their next match, which again we'll get to in a minute. But what a display that was! Like, just credit where credit's due from D'Amico Ryans and the whole coaching staff. That was a hell of a defense to kind of announce yourself, considering they'd been on like a little bit of a slide before the playoffs kicked off. That was a real way to show you, like, no, do you know what? We're here now. We mean business. Like, this is it. Serious now, and they can step up when it matters, which is a good start.
Yeah.
Stingley
in good stead. Yeah, Stingley was that one everywhere, wasn't it?
Lockdown cube at the CB. Pretty good.
NFC side of things, as you say, Commanders beating the Bucks. Were you that surprised the Rams got the edge over the Eagles? I wasn't. I called when I was talking with the guys on the NFC West show on the Sunday of the web card. I was like, when you look at the Rams, they've got just, you can't rule out Puka, Cup, Stafford. They've got the experience. And I thought that's what probably came through in that game. Darnold has never played a playoff game. And it showed. I mean, their defense was all over.
Yeah,
absolutely all over.
Yeah.
I think the Rams D came through there, and that's what threw the Vikings off by a mile. They weren't expecting it to be such. I think they sacked him 9 times, I believe.
9 times he got sacked. I mean, to be honest, I feel for Sam Darnold because by the end he was back to being Sam Darnold.
Yeah.
But it's not surprising when you've got half a second by the time you've snapped the ball and you look up and there's a Rams player in your face, pretty much.
Yeah.
But yeah, fair play to the Rams.
The only thing that I was concerned about was that, I mean, the Eagles' performance. I mean, don't get me wrong, Packers, I think they're ready, but they don't feel playoff ready. I think they've just been thrown in there too early, a year or two too early. Their wide receivers core, I think, went down pretty much. All of them.
Everyone's
Reed, Dobbs, Watson. I mean, the poor Love didn't have anyone to throw to, but the Eagles to me didn't seem that convincing.
Yeah, they weren't good, like by any stretch. They weren't good.
No,
they were just like
AJ Brown had 1 catch for 10 yards.
One catch for 10 yards and was reading a book on the sideline. Yeah, I mean, there was literally a whole quarter that Jalen Hurts didn't even complete a pass. Like the Eagles won, and like part of their game plan was looking good, but I know what you mean. By no stretch of the imagination was I sat there thinking like, this team
watch
can
out.
do.
Yeah, they're going to take Detroit. I mean, Detroit would not allow that. I mean, granted, the Eagles got a very simplistic game plan. Give the ball to the best running back in the division and give the ball to potentially the best running back behind the best running offensive line. Yeah. And then if we have to, maybe throw it around a bit.
Yeah, that offensive line, by the way.
Wasn't that great. Go on.
No, I was just going to... There are some of those passes that it felt like Jalen Hurts had like minutes on the ball. Like, it was a bit insane just watching him like stood in this massive pocket because the offensive line is just pushing everyone back and there's just nobody there. And I was like, well, someone's going to get to him in a minute. And that just never came. Like, the amount of time he had on the ball sometimes is genuinely crazy. Like, when the average time to throw is what, like 2.5, 3 seconds, if that, that's probably a bit long.
It felt like he had a week.
He was there forever. Yeah, that I mean, credit where credit's due. That offensive line was looking pretty mean. But other than that, they looked, I feel like, distinctly average over the course of that.
I think Hurts did seem very off. Then again, you need to bear in mind he's been out for about
his first game.
I'm pretty sure it's 28 days without playing.
Yeah, he was concussed.
I don't think he even practiced pre-game. I think it was just you fit your passing protocols, in you go. So, and the flip side of that is they didn't play lights out football, but they won. And they've moved into the next round. So,
but makes me think Rams will take this Eagles if they played like they did against Packers. Rams will eat them for breakfast.
Yeah,
they'll be over. But
and the Rams have got this, playing.
And McVay's doing playoff football. He's doing things.
Playoff football is crazy, and you've got the Rams there who've been through that. And yes, it's I think that's what showed against
Stafford.
As we say,
Stafford shows up as well.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
so nobody wants to play anybody in the playoffs, right? There's no easy game. There shouldn't be any easy games in the playoffs.
No.
Apart from the Lions Commanders.
That Ravens Bills, that's going to be a nice game.
Oh, that one is tasty. That one is tasty.
I genuinely feel stressed about that game. I'm not, because I feel like I've gone so far into the Bills are winning the Super Bowl now that I'm like, oh God.
Yeah.
And then, you know, if they win that, they've only got a small. Well, I'm assuming it's probably going to be the Chiefs, but
you never know. You never know.
Get on to that.
You never know. So yeah, that was my thought process around the wild card. Nothing massively surprising. Commanders maybe is the one that came a little bit out of the blue, but I think they deserved it. The Bucks were always, I think, a one and done playoff team anyway because they came out of the NFC South. And then we've got the same 4 in the AFC that we had last year. It's exactly the same. So that's I think for one of the first time ever, I think back to back they've got AFC divisional games with the same 4 teams. Where do we think that's going to go? So obviously Texans are going to Arrowhead. Chiefs are flattered to deceive all season. We've been saying all season they're not playing really well, but here they are, number 1 seed in the divisional round. So do we think the Texans have got enough? The last time they played, the Texans went 24-0 up. Granted, they then lost 50-30.
I'm a bit worried about how long the Chiefs haven't played a football game as well. They've had a couple of weeks where they've had
23 days by the time they come to play.
And they've probably sit a lot of the starters. Mahomes has been busy having babies. Well, not him.
Well, I mean, he's not. He did his work a few months back. Much to do on that one.
So it depends. It all depends if they're going to be cold on the night going into this playoff game. But again, it's the Chiefs. The Chiefs always tend to go into 6th gear. Kelsey, Pacheco. I mean, there's names there. Hopkins could even. It's going to be one of those. It's a tough one. The Texans need to literally play the game of their lives. Yeah.
And to think if they do that, there's definitely a chance because, as we say, it's going to be tough for the Chiefs to find that next level after not playing for almost, for over 3 weeks. And they've not really found that top gear all season. Not yet. So is it in there? Is it something that
is it less than 30 points every game?
They haven't scored 30 points. They haven't
scored many.
No, they haven't scored 30 points all season.
No.
Yeah.
The only, I think there was a stat at the end of week 18, wasn't it? The only teams who haven't scored over 30 all season, the Chiefs were 14-1 or whatever they ended up on. And any other team was like 2-16 or 2-14.
15-2, yeah. And I'm pretty sure that's more than the other 3 teams or 4 teams.
All added up
combined,
together.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
Crazy stat.
Yeah.
So, I mean, they've not hit their strap. They've not been the Chiefs of old, but they're in the divisional round. They're number 1 seeds. They've got home field advantage. Arrowhead is not an easy place for any team to go,
no, it's not.
Especially for a Texans team that plays in a dome. There's all that sort of stuff. It's going to be cold. It's going to be outdoors. D'Amico Ryan, yes, he's going to have them up and fired, but it's going to be a tough game for them. It's going to be I'd love to see the Texans do it. A, because it's the Chiefs, and B, because of D'Amico Ryan and CJ Stroud. I think there's a real sort of feel good around that team. I just don't see enough around the run game.
I mean, Stroud worries me as well.
He's a little bit.
He's had a hit in this season.
Definitely regressed from last season.
He's lost a lot of players as well offensively, but Texans, I think they just need to go ahead early and obviously kind of stay in front. But they have to lead a bit on their defense. The defense was, as you say, all over them last week. So hopefully they can do something similar this week. Blanket, take Kelsey out of the game. Force them to run. Might be. Is that an early game as well, or was that?
I think that is the early game because I think the Ravens Bill is the late game. Yeah, so that's that. The Texans Chiefs the first game. Say an early game. It's 9:30 for us. Yeah.
Texans only get early games in playoff football. That's like I think I was watching. I heard someone read a statistic, but basically since the Texans became the franchise they are. every single time they've made it to the playoffs, they have been stuck in the early window. Every single playoff game. So have no doubt, Texans ever make the playoffs, it's an early one. You don't have a late night. Happy days.
Yeah, and then followed up by possibly I want to say the tie of the round, but Ravens Bills it's mouth watering.
What a game! Like, is this not? Because I feel like a lot, like so much of this season has been, is it Josh Allen or is it Lamar Jackson? That seems to have very much been like the back and forth all season. It's been, 1 week one guy's on top, and then the next week the other guy comes back. How wicked is it that we're literally just going to get to see them go head to head, not just in like a regular season game, like when it matters? And I feel like whichever team loses this game, that feels like it's going to potentially, I say not be a meltdown, because I suppose they're in different situations in that I don't think many people expected the Bills to be this good this season.
No.
Whereas obviously the Ravens were really, really good last season and then added Derrick Henry. So I feel like if the Ravens were anything less than this, that would have been horribly disappointing. But I feel like whichever quarterback specifically loses this matchup, I think that's going to be a real gut punch. Like, this feels like a big one. And it's kind of a shame that this isn't the AFC title game, Like, this feels not like a waste, but this feels like such a good matchup. Like, this, if this was the AFC title game, that would be perfect.
I don't think anyone would be upset by it if it was the game, the AFC Championship.
I wouldn't mind any of those two going to Super Bowl.
Yeah. I feel like even Chiefs Kingdom, you'd be like, it's kind of sad that we're not there, but this is going to be a hell of a match. Like, right? Yeah. I cannot wait for this one. This is going to be so good.
It's going to be a stunk. My only concern with what you say there is there's a chance, and, considering the Ravens and who they are and what they've got and the addition that they made this season, they could just, go run heavy, give the ball to Derrick Henry, and it then becomes a Derrick Henry against the Bill show, and, the MVP aspect of it gets taken away because they just kind of go, Bills can't stop the run, we're just going to feed this guy and he's just going to run all over them. And therefore that sort of who's the best, who's the MVP gets a little bit lost. But
yeah,
I don't know, it might happen, but then Josh might do Josh Allen things, and even if Derrick Henry's running all over the defense, he might just go, right, here we go, put it on me, I'm going to run all over their defense and bomb it down the field. It's got everything, that game. It's just got so many nuances, so many potential storylines. It's just going to be absolutely cracking.
I mean, due to the weather, I suspect it's going to be a very heavy run game. I think it's -6. I've got it down as predicting.
Is it snow or is it just freezing?
It just says freezing at the moment. I think it is.
That's going to be rough though. Like that.
It's at the Ravens, isn't it?
No, it's at the
Bills got home field advantage.
Bills home field advantage. So
Bills got home field advantage, but the Ravens are favored in the game. If like on betting odds, the Ravens are favorite. But then I guess it kind of makes sense. Like, if you're looking probably player for player, like that Ravens roster is pretty stacked. Like, you probably would back the Ravens.
Yeah, you would
equally, this Bills team does feel. I hate to say it because as soon as I back a team, it goes wrong. But this Bills team does feel a bit special, right? Like this, I know it's done. Sorry, Bills, you're going home. But like this, no, I'm not saying they're going to win it or anything, but no one expected them to be this good. And to be fair, even when we made our preseason predictions, I was sat there being like, yeah, they're going to win the division. I was like, I think I'm just saying this because I'm just madly in love with Josh Allen. Like, I'm pretty sure that was what was happening. And it somehow worked out to be true. But even now, you're like, how is this team this good? When you actually like look through their roster and how many injuries they've got, and it's like, how is this team just functioning at such a high level? Like, it's kind of silly. And like, the team definitely has its flaws. Like the defense is definitely not solid all the time, but they just kind of somehow seem to just make it through. Like, whether it's just Josh Allen doing ridiculously Josh Allen stuff, or
James Cook scoring a touchdown. I mean, he got 16 or something on the season.
Something pretty crazy. That's what I mean. This Bills team have been having a season. Like, if it's just player for player, then I think you can easily be like, oh yeah, like on paper, the Ravens should win this. But this is going to be hell of a game.
And what gets me is the defenses are strong in different ways. You know, the Ravens defense really good against the run, shocking against the pass. And then you look across the other side and you go, well, Josh Allen knows how to throw the ball.
Yeah, of all the people to not be good against defending a pass against that, you wouldn't want to see Josh Allen lining up against you. That's kind of scary.
Yeah, and I think the Bills defense is pretty good against the run. Not so great again. I think they're also, I can't actually remember whether they rank in that, but I think their run defense is pretty good. And you think,
Ravens can kind of do both. That's still scary.
terrifying. Yeah, where do you go with that one? I just cannot wait for that game. This one.
They've both got. Derrick Henry's got 16 touchdowns and Cook's got 16 as well. Both on the same. Just Henry's got
Henry's got like
more yards,
70,000 yards, and
1,900.
And James Cook's not even broke 1,000 yards. I don't think, is he?
The only worry I've got with the Ravens is I think Flowers is kind of banged up, so I don't know who their other
week or day to day. I don't think he's playing on. Well,
he missed out. He missed out their last game, didn't he?
Yeah.
I haven't heard confirmation, and that's a big one because if he's not playing, then they're on to.
He's definitely been Jackson's favourite option, hasn't he?
Yeah.
So ESPN match up predictor, or the betting, or the side, whatever you call it. They've got Bills 50.3% versus 49.7%.
It's like razor edge, isn't it? I mean, and that's possibly because the Bills are at home. You know, they get slight favoritism over that, and that's like, that's just.
Do you think as well? Question: do you think this is going to determine MVP?
It shouldn't. It really shouldn't, because MVP should have been done and dusted week 18.
That was going to be my question. The MVP is just supposed to be regular season, right? It's not supposed to be. Okay.
It's supposed to be done and dusted, and I think it should be in that week between when week 18 and everything else. That's when they should go, right, MVP done, dusted. To be voted for, been done.
But the influences and the votes are going to be looked at.
Just absolutely skewed. And, because there have been players who've been MVP quality but haven't made the playoffs and then suddenly are not even in the reckoning. They're just not right, but it has happened in the past. It probably will. It probably shouldn't, because, from a most valuable player perspective, I suppose Josh Allen has been for the Bills. I don't really think Lamar has been for the Ravens. I think their MVP
I'll give it to Henry.
Is Henry. And the same like 100%. Saquon. You've got to look at Saquon as, he could have broken the league rushing record. Yes, it's week 18 games and whatever else, but he was very close to that record. And he's been the most valuable player for the Eagles. So it probably shouldn't. Well, actually, no, it shouldn't, but it probably will.
But it will,
yeah. And as you say, Matty, whoever wins this, whatever QB comes out on top and goes to the AFC Championship game, will probably get the MVP.
Yeah, I agree. I feel like it just depends how you interpret the MVP, because I feel like if you're just looking at the quarterback that has been on,
it's not just been a quarterback.
Yeah. Okay. Yes. No. Agreed. But let's be real.
We had that little rant a few weeks ago.
We did. Yeah. It shouldn't be, but it probably will be. But I suppose it depends how you view it, right? It's like, do you want to vote for the quarterback and / or other player that plays for the team that just overall was kind of more effective in bigger spots, or would you like to vote for the quarterback and or player, like other positions are available, that was maybe just genuinely the most valuable part of that team, right? Because Josh Allen is what has made the Bills tick this season, and he's been that kind of that metronome, that one constant that has just kept the team chugging along. Lamar Jackson, don't get me wrong, he has been playing some ridiculous football. Like, at times he has looked like by far and away the best quarterback, but there is a lot around him as well that makes him work so effectively. Like we said, Derrick Henry, you cannot mention the Ravens and not talk about Derrick Henry, because he has been an absolute monster this season.
Who would have thought?
Yeah, no, I mean, obviously he was going to be good, but he has been incredible. And that doesn't take away from Lamar Jackson to a point, but you have to mention there is that caveat. They're like, oh, well, he has been really effective because of this.
Yeah.
Buffalo has been effective because of Josh Allen, right? They're just mildly different conversations.
Yep.
NFC games, then I guess probably deserve a shout. Commanders, Lions. Gary, are you thinking this one's pretty? You sound like you think this one's fairly sewn up and done. Do you think the Lions are going out then?
Yeah, definitely see the Lions putting their feet up after this off to Cancun. No. The Commanders are way ahead of the curve, right? Nobody expected it to be this good, this far ahead. I mean, this is the first season with the guys from the front office, Jaden Daniels having rookie season to die for, playing with house money, which is the risk, because the pressure's all on the Lions here, because number one seeds at home. Nobody expects the Commanders to beat the Lions, but it's playoff time, right? And the Commanders have pulled off some crazy stuff already. I don't expect the Commanders to beat them. I'd love to see it, because from a magic of the NFL type thing. But
I reckon that can work in the Commander's favor, because
they've got nothing to lose, right?
Exactly.
Divisional game. Who thought the Commanders were going to be in the divisional round?
Correct. If I'm Dan Quinn, I'll be out there and say, right, no one predicted us to get here where we are at the moment. We haven't got any pressure on us to go out there and, well, they want to win, obviously, but there's more pressure on the Lions at the moment
big time,
because of their situation. I'll just go out there and play the best. That's it.
Have some fun. Take the pressure off. Throw the ball around. They went. The Commanders go 14-0 up. Pressure on the Lions is immense, and that Lions and the fans won't turn, but the pressure will be cranked up.
Oh yeah.
Nobody. I mean, I love what the Commanders are doing. I think they're set for a long season. They're set for a long time with that front office. Guys have come across from West Coast to East Coast, taking the mentality with them. They've struck gold in the draft by getting the best QB out of the draft, and they run with it. They need to get some extra pieces. I don't think their offense has got enough pieces around him. So the fact that they're where they are is absolutely, a win-win for the Commanders. Go out there, play your fun, have some laughs. To be honest, even if they get blown out, I don't think any Commanders fans are going to be too upset or be surprised. They're all going to be like, we got to the divisional round. We're 3 seasons ahead of where anybody expected them to be. Great. Let's enjoy it while we're here. And that it's a dangerous beast. It could happen. They could just go out there.
It would be a massive upset though if the Commanders was to do it.
Huge.
Then equally, I feel like the Commanders are kind of scary, because they do feel like the kind of team that could get off to a really fast start and put the Lions under some pressure. And I feel like, the Lions would be fairly well versed in dealing with that. Like, they've kind of come to be that team that people are expecting to be good now. So, they know what pressure is like. It's not as if this is not out of nowhere, but as kind of much of a maybe surprise as it was like last season or the season before when they started looking better. But the Commanders equally, if it's like, oh, there's only 6 minutes left in the fourth quarter and they're 10 points down, you'd be like, yeah, but they could still do this. Like,
they could pull off a Hail Mary.
You'd at no point be like, oh, they're out of this. Like, they're done. Like, the Commanders just are that team. I mean, like, was it the game against the Bears earlier this season or something where the Bears pulled off that mental touchdown? They literally had like 15 seconds or something and got the job done. And I mean, literally against the Bucks last week, like, this is kind of what the Commanders do. Like, you have to really, really, really put them to bed.
Really bury them, yeah. I mean, and they've had the luck, as you say, that Hail Mary that really should have been batted down with the Bears player was too busy pointing and laughing at the crowd.
I can't believe that happened, man. Like, even now, that's wild.
You got to run that back. But to be honest, I bet every Commanders fan was watching that last field goal, going, "That's gone right." That's gone. He's missed that, and it's somehow to doink off the inside of the post and in. House money now for the Commanders. Go out and have some fun. Dangerous for the Lions, but I just think the Lions are just too well oiled, too slick, and potentially could put a lot of points up.
David Montgomery's back as well.
Yeah, fully participating in practice.
Yep.
That's massive for them. Absolutely massive for them.
Injury.
Yeah,
And
gonna
then-
struggle to disagree. Yeah, but this one could be maybe not equally as spicy as Ravens Bills. It feels like that is matchup of the weekend by a country mile. But
yeah,
I think Rams Eagles, low key, this could have a little something to it.
I think so. As we talked about, the Eagles didn't look a massively 100% slick organization. The Rams coming in there with all of that sort of emotional LA wildfires, we're playing for LA aspect.
Yeah.
History, they clicked really well against the Vikings. The defense turned up. This one is by no means, I mean, and fair play to the Rams, because I thought anyone coming out of the NFC West this season was a one and done playoff team, if whoever got in, because the NFC West was shocking this season. But the Rams, showed up against the Vikings, gave them a hiding. This is the best of the two in the NFC side of the draw. I think the Eagles will probably have enough at home.
Yeah,
But,
I think it depends on the Eagles who turns up, what kind of team turns up for the Eagles. Again, I want to go back to the home field advantage here. Rams are used to being inside playing in a dome, I believe. Going to the Eagles at -1.
Yeah, SoFi is they're used to playing in LA, but they're also used to playing in an away stadium, if that makes sense. Because they don't have that avid a following in LA because of the competition of teams and whatever else. SoFi is often, jokingly, it's called Levi South for 49ers fans, because basically when the 49ers play there, it's 2/3 red because they travel so well and the LA fans aren't there. So yes, they're not used to playing outdoors in that cold, but they are used to playing in a less favourable environment, although not as hostile as Lincoln Field, because that is an evil place to go. As it's been proven by recent social media. Well done to the Eagles fans and for the Eagles finding that guy and banning him for life. But
I read that.
He got fired. He also got fired from his diversity
role,
exclusion and inclusion role. So well done, that man.
It's almost as if being a bad person is bad.
Yeah.
Wow, that's crazy.
How was that man a DEI consultant? That's one of those anomalies of the world.
Good God.
Anyways,
I feel like a lot of this matchup is going to be quarterback play, because when Jalen Hurts is on it, he's really, really good. But I feel like when Matthew Stafford is on it, I hate that I'm even going to say this. Dare I say, when Matthew Stafford is on it, he's potentially the best quarterback in the NFC. Like, he is unreal when he's just absolutely firing it, like left, right, and center.
What experience.
He is ridiculous. Yeah, exactly. Experience counts for so much. And obviously, he's been around for a lot. He's been to the Super Bowl. He's won the Super Bowl. And obviously, Jalen Hurts went to the Super Bowl. To be fair, played an unreal game and came up short. Yeah, he was the better quarterback in the Super Bowl and lost. But it might be the little things like that come into play. Like, this Rams team is kind of plucky. Like, again, who thought the Rams are going to be here?
The Rams started 1-4. I called McVay hanging up his coaching headset.
You didn't think he was going to make it to the end of the season.
That was my hot take, and here they are in the divisional round. You can't rule them out. The experience is there, and as you say, if Stafford is on fire, he is elite. Stafford is an elite QB, and could easily dissect that Eagles defense.
Yeah.
So it's a cracking. The two late games are the best games of the weekend on both sides of the ball. So stay up. Definitely stay up Saturday night for the Ravens-Bills game, because that is just going to be potentially the game of the season.
Yeah, that. If the Super Bowl is a stinker, we can always just potentially look back at this game and at least we had that,
Yeah, I mean, it used to happen. It used to be the way DJ had it, and you probably, you always had the AFC when the Patriots were strong, were always going to be coming through. But the NFC Championship was always whoever wins that. That was always the game, because you'd get to the Super Bowl and you'd be like, oh, you're running the Patriots machine. It was always like the NFC Championship game was always the game to watch and stuff. And that one, that Bills Ravens one, does feel a little bit like this could be the game. this is the one that you want to be. You want to say you watched it. You don't want to miss it and watch it. You don't want to be doing the 40-minute catch up on the Sunday morning because you won't get the full.
Yeah. I think you want to watch every second of this game. It's all going to be incredible. What books are the players reading on the sidelines? I want to know.
Did you see that? I don't know if everyone else saw that, but that book that he was reading has gone from
best-selling now in Amazon.
Selling number one. It was 552,000 on the list last week, and it's number one bestseller on Amazon.
What a week for the author of that book.
For the guy who's just like,
just mind his own business, being like, this book that I wrote, like it's doing well. Hang on a minute, why is everyone buying my book?
What's going on? I need to reprint millions of them. Fair play. Anyway, boys, it's been great catching up. Missed you guys. Missed talking football with everybody. Really happy to have you guys back. Matty, are you around on Sunday? Are we going to do a Sunday wildcard show?
Yeah, man, I'm around. I can't wait. Like, playoff football just hits different. And don't get me wrong, it's kind of sad because it's coming to an end soon. But God, do they save the best stuff for the last? Like it is. Like every single one of these games is going to be a banger, even if it just ends like 9-6. You just know it's going to be absolutely juicy. Like, oh God, I'm excited.
Tense to the end. Don't look away. It's going to be awesome. DJ, lovely to see you, man. Matty, hopefully we'll catch up Sunday. For everybody else, stay up Saturday. Make sure you watch those games. They're going to be crackers. Anybody else out there? Thanks for watching. This has been NFL Around the UK from Sportsbank UK. We'll see you next time.
Ciao.